One of my favorite subjects in the school of life, what I call ancestral school, is nervous system literacy. I feel like we don't talk about this enough. This is not a topic that only belongs in the language of modern psychology, because it touches something very ancient in the human experience: our relationship with safety, rhythm, and the body's ability to rest. Nervous system literacy to me is the practice of learning how to listen to the body again. It is learning to recognize when the body is settled and when it is overwhelmed. It is learning how to move through the world in a way that honors the body's need for rhythm, recovery, and restoration. This subject is deeply personal to me. I've come into this lifetime in the female form, in the Black female form, and the gifts I carry, the way I teach, the way I hold space, and the way I move through the world are inseparable from the state of my nervous system. My work requires presence. It requires calm. It requires pacing. It requires the ability to listen deeply to myself, to others, and my expression, creativity, and my clarity all emerge most naturally when my nervous system is regulated, when I am not rushing, when I am not being rushed, when I am not forcing myself into rhythms that my body was not designed to sustain. And yet we're living in a world that constantly pulls the body in an opposite direction, a world of urgency, a world of overstimulation, a world where exhaustion is often normalized and where many people are living with nervous systems that rarely experience true rest. Over time, I've begun to realize that many of the struggles people carry today are not simply emotional or personal. They're psychological because they live in the body. This is why nervous system awareness has become such an important teaching in my life. Because when we begin to understand the body, when we begin to understand how the nervous system works, we start to see ourselves and the world differently. What once felt like personal failure often reveals itself as the body that has been carrying too much for too long. And from that place of understanding, something powerful becomes possible: compassion, self-compassion. And from self-compassion, a different kind of relationship with the body can begin. So today I want to speak about nervous system awareness, what the nervous system is, how it shapes our experiences of the world, and why learning to care for it may be one of the most important forms of wellness we can reclaim in our lifetime. Something I've noticed and always felt in the world, especially right now, is how many people are living in a constant state of overwhelm. Not just busy or tired, but overstimulated. You can feel this in conversations with people. You can feel it in the way people react quickly. And you can feel it in how difficult it has become for many people to slow down, even when they need to. And often we think this is a personal problem. We may even think something is wrong with us. We may ask ourselves, why can't I rest? Why can't I concentrate? And why do I feel exhausted even when I sleep? But many of these questions are actually questions of the nervous system. The nervous system is the body's communication network. It is how the body senses the world and responds to it. It is what tells your heart when to beat faster. It is what tells your muscles when to tighten. It is what tells your body when it is safe to soften and when it needs to prepare for protection. So you can think of the nervous system as the body's listening system. It is constantly asking one question beneath everything we experience: am I safe? Or am I in danger? And based on how the body answers that question, it changes the way we feel, think, and behave. If the body senses safety, it softens. Breathing becomes deeper, digestion works properly, and the mind can become clearer. But if the body senses danger, the body prepares for survival. The heart may beat faster, muscles tighten, and the mind becomes alert and watchful. And this is not a flaw in the body. This is how the body protects life. And long before the language of nervous systems, people still observe these patterns in the body. Our ancestors may not have used modern scientific language, but they deeply understood the relationship between the body, the spirit, and the environment. They noticed the difference between a person who was settled and a person who was restless. They noticed the way grief lives in the body, the way fear moves through the body, and the way joy softens the body. In many African traditions, there was an understanding that the body carries memory. When someone experienced shock, loss, or disruption, there were ways to restore balance in the body. There were ways to bring the body back into rhythm through song, drumming, prayer, through storytelling, movement, and through time spent in nature and in community. These were not random cultural practices. They were ways of helping the body release tension, restore safety, and return to balance. Even after hardship, life still moved in cycles. There was time for effort, and there was time for rest, time for grief, and there was time for rebuilding. There was space for the body to recover. But many of the systems we live in today are very different. Many people are living in environments where the nervous system is rarely allowed to settle. We have notifications, constant information, financial pressure, productivity culture, and a sense that we must always be available, always responding, always moving. The body absorbs all of these signals, and many of those signals communicate the same message again and again. Something is urgent. You must keep going. You cannot slow down. When the body stays in this state for too long, it begins to believe that urgency is normal. People begin to live in permanent alertness. And when the body tries to slow down, it can actually feel uncomfortable. This is why many people struggle with rest. They sit down to rest, and suddenly the mind becomes busy. The body becomes restless, and then anxiety appears. Because the body has forgotten what safety feels like. And many people judge themselves for not being able to keep up with the pace of life, for not being able to keep up like everyone else. People ask themselves, like, why can't I keep up? Why can't I handle this like everyone else? But often the issue is not discipline. The body is simply overwhelmed. The nervous system has been carrying too much stimulation, too much pressure, and too little recovery. I speak of this to share that our liberation is not only political, it is also psychological. It begins with remembering how to return to the body, with simple things. Breathing slowly, stepping outside and feeling the air, walking without rushing, eating without rushing, and reducing the number of things that constantly demand our attention. It's not an invitation to escape life. This is an invitation to restore rhythm. Because the body was designed for rhythm. The body was designed for day and night, effort and rest, movement and stillness. And when we begin to respect these rhythms again, the nervous system begins to soften. And when the nervous system softens, clarity returns, energy returns, and creativity returns. Before I go, I want to leave you with a gentle reminder to please give your body permission to remember another way of living. Because the truth is this: there will never be a moment when the pace of the modern world pauses and says, now you may rest. The systems we live inside were not designed to prioritize the nervous system. They were designed for speed, productivity, and output. So the care of your nervous system cannot wait for permission from the world. It becomes a personal practice, a conscious choice. And in many ways, nervous system is ancestral work. It is the remembering that the body was not meant to live in constant urgency. It is remembering that life moves in cycles, effort and rest, sound and silent, movement and stillness. No one may formally teach you this, but the body understands it. And when we begin to protect the nervous system, we're not withdrawing from life. We're reclaiming our ability to live it fully. So I want to close this sharing with a few affirmations. Affirm with me. My body was not designed to live at the speed of machines. It is safe for me to slow down. It is safe for me to pause. I am allowed to rest even when the world continues moving. My worth is not measured by urgency. My body deserves rhythm, recovery, and care. I release the pressure to keep up with systems that exhaust my spirit. I am allowed to step away from environments that overwhelm my nervous system. I am allowed to create boundaries with people who rush my pace. I am allowed to move slowly, even in a fast world. Each time I choose presence over pressure, my body remembers safety. Each time I breathe deeply, my nervous system softens. Each time I honor my limits, I return to myself. I choose rhythms that nourish my life. I choose environments that support my nervous system. I choose relationships that respect my pace. My body is intelligent. My body knows the way back to balance, and I am allowed to listen.